Thanks for that. Yeah, today I'd like to give you a quick overview of if you wanted to get into 3D, what pieces of software do you need, and how do you get your data. So I've been doing 3D for 20 years already. Started out with virtual reality and GIS, and then moved to ArcGIS, and I've been with Esri now for about 8 years, first as product manager and now as a solutions engineer. I show this slide always at the beginning of my presentations because, why would you want to go 3D? It's not necessary to go 3D, but in certain cases, it does add value. What I've noticed and what a lot of our customers have noticed is that if you show something in 3D, for example, a property development inside of a city, it improves understanding, especially for non-technical people. And that leads to better communication and you're saving time, you're saving money. And also some problems like a visibility or a shadow analysis, they need to be done in 3D. So simply put, if you start working in 3D, you get better insight into your data and it allows you to tell a better story. But this question I heard a lot when I was product manager as well, there's a lot of barriers for 3D adoption. First of all, the value proposition, why should I go 3D? But the main one is always, well, we don't have 3D content. How can I get started if I don't have 3D content? And then the other one is, well, I don't just want it on desktop. I want to see 3D on my mobile device or in a web browser. So a lot of barriers, people not really wanting to go to 3D. But I must say, at this stage with the ArcGIS platform and all our business partners, I think it's ready to go 3D if you want to go 3D. So if we look at the content part, Esri provides a lot of 3D data. At the moment, it's mainly US, but these are scene services, as we call them, of cities in the US that can just stream straight into ArcGIS Pro or your web browser. But there are also a lot of business partners provide ready-to-use 3D content. This is, for example, data from pictometry. It's also available here in Australia. But you get something like this. You get a fully textured city model. This is San Francisco. It's about 90,000 buildings. And we're viewing this now in a Webscene. And a Webscene is very similar to a web map in that it's just an item on ArcGIS Online that points to a bunch of layers. And it works in your browser with no plugin and no download, just native capability of the browser. Another bit of content that we see regularly popping up and content that folks want to display is vast amounts of LiDAR data. And this is now also possible to stream in a browser through ArcGIS Online using a Webscene. So what we have here is about 1 billion points of a city in the Netherlands, where I was born. And you can see it just streams in. Even I'm just on the wireless here. I'm not even hooked up to the LAN. It's just on the wireless and it streams in. So we made it in such a way that we're just streaming in data to the location of where we're viewing. So in these cases, it's terrestrial LiDAR. The tunnel is loading in. And then if we wanted to, we can actually go into the tunnel and start having a look inside the tunnel. And you can see it keeps, I'm too fast now, but it keeps loading. So streaming of large amounts of LiDAR data is now also possible just in a web browser. We go further. We also see a lot of our data partners providing these kind of what we call integrated meshes. So this kind of a skin of the earth that has the buildings, the trees, and the cars. And this is readily available for sale you can buy it at our partners, and it just works in all of our software. Works in ArcGIS Earth, in ArcGIS Pro, and also in the Webscene viewers online. And that gives you an instant, really good 3D model of your city, for example. So moving on, especially here in Australia, there's geoscape data. I think it's a nationwide data set, I believe, that you can also get, if you want to get started in 3D, the content from geoscape is also a good place to start. But then there is a whole bunch of customers that we've noticed that still either want to do it themselves, want to create their own 3D data, or simply do not have the money available to buy this data. So what we did in the solutions group, this is where I work, we wanted to create a solution that allows you to create your 3D city model from your LiDAR data, extract features from your LiDAR data directly. And the solutions that I'm about to show you are part of the ArcGIS platform. They're fully open source, available at no cost, and they are supported by Esri. So if you run into any trouble, you can ring up Esri and you'll get support. The solutions, if you want to have a look, it's on ArcGIS, solutions.arcgis.com, where you find these solutions. And if you look for the 3D stuff, you'll find the local government 3D base map. That is the solution that I wanted to highlight in this session. So if you have a look, so what we have here is Queenstown in New Zealand. I live in New Zealand, and this is the closest city to where I live. And what the council wanted to hear, again, they couldn't afford to buy a ready-made 3D model from a business partner, but they did have LiDAR data available, and they did have building footprints. So what they asked me to do is, can you turn that into a 3D city model for us? Well, we can using this solution. So what it does, as I explained, you take your LiDAR data, you take building footprints, it goes into ArcGIS Pro using a number of tasks and Python scripts, and it will output you a 3D city model. So if we look a bit closer, this was the data that I got given. So you see here, this is Queenstown, and the dots you see, that is the LiDAR data that is streaming in. And what the solution allows you to do is just look at the points that represent the buildings, bring in your building footprints, and then extract from those two pieces of data a high-resolution elevation surface. You see a drop here, but also 3D buildings. So if we have a closer look, you can see that the extraction went pretty well. It's not 100%. We don't capture every AC unit on top of buildings, but the main form of the buildings is captured pretty well. And as a bonus, we also do tree extraction. So we extract from the LiDAR the tree point, the tree height, and the tree width, and then use CityEngine procedural rules to create 3D tree models on top of those points. And this works especially well for urban trees that are, not in a forest, not overlapping trees. So that gives you an easy way of starting to build your 3D city model. And all your existing 2D data is not wasted. It can just be dragged and dropped into 3D. So it's not that you think, oh, all my data needs to be 3D enabled now. No, your 2D data can just be dragged into the 3D scene, and it just works. And even the symbology will come across. So, and just to reiterate, again, we're looking here at a web scene, right? But I've embedded it here into a story map, and that is quite a nice way of telling a story in 3D, having the text on the left-hand side and then the web scene on the right-hand side. All right, so that's kind of the creation of a 3D city model, using data from Esri, using data from business partners, or create your own 3D model using our free solution. So that kind of covers the content part. But what about the software? Well, like I said, I've been product manager for 6 years at Esri, and what we really have been trying to accomplish is have 3D available across the platform. That means in desktop, but also in a browser, and also on mobile devices. And that is all now possible. So we really wanted to have that core platform, that core 3D capability, I should say, across the whole platform. So if we look at desktop, we have two main 3D applications. We have ArcGIS Pro and we have CityEngine. For those of you that, somebody's trying to call me. For those of you that still have ArcGlobe or ArcScene, I would recommend going to ArcGIS Pro because that's really been built with 3D in mind from the ground on up. Oh, and going back, I'll just go back one slide. I also get a lot of questions of when should I use CityEngine and when should I use ArcGIS Pro? Well, ArcGIS Pro is our main 3D GIS desktop software. The CityEngine is really dedicated to urban design. If you want to do quick iterations, change the building, see what kind of key performance indicators change when you change the design interactively in CityEngine, that is really what CityEngine is good at. And ArcGIS Pro is for all your other 3D needs. So if we look at ArcGIS Pro, we just released 2.0 in July. Lots of new features. For example, there's better navigation now in ArcGIS Globe using this new widget that you see here on the right-hand side. And also this, what I really like, and it's been there for a while, but it's quite powerful, is this side-by-side view. You can have a 2D view linked with your 3D view, and they work in tandem. What we've also enabled in ArcGIS Pro is the ability to do true 3D editing. So as you can see here at the bottom, it's kind of like SketchUp functionality is now directly embedded in ArcGIS Pro, and you can use it to model up your buildings. Now, if we look at CityEngine, we released CityEngine 2017 also in July. Has lots of new features. One of them is quite powerful, which is called scenarios. We switch to CityEngine. It allows you to compare scenarios really quickly and really easily. So if we have here one of our designs in CityEngine, we have now the notion of scenarios within CityEngine, so I can, just with the push of a button, switch to another design. And you can also hook that up directly with your dashboards here on the right-hand side. So if I switch from one design to the other, you see that the dashboards change dynamically. So all my benchmark numbers that you see here change also if I change the design. And even if I then go into CityEngine and say, hang on, I really do not like the height of these buildings, I can change it here dynamically, and you can see that the dashboard updates straight away as well. So this straight away highlights where CityEngine is very good. You can't do this in ArcGIS Pro. This is really a CityEngine thing, this really dynamic live editing of 3D objects. Other bits in CityEngine, there is now measurement in 3D. That's been a request for a wee while. That's now possible. And also at the left hand, you see here context queries. So as you notice, as the tree moves, it gets smaller. It is aware of its surroundings. So objects know of neighboring objects, and you can assign behavior to that object according to the distance to a neighboring object. All right. So desktop applications, ArcGIS Pro and CityEngine, and then we have a whole range of other 3D-enabled apps. We have ArcGIS Earth. It's a free viewer. It's really, really good at viewing KML files specifically. We have Drawn the Map that allows you to take your imagery and turn it into these 3D meshes and point clouds. And then we also have the Web App Builder. If you want to build your own custom 3D application, then the Web App Builder is a tool for you. And then separate from that, there's a whole bunch of other apps that we also would like to look at all the apps and see where we can 3D enable these. And one example is an app that we've released in the solutions group is a 3D public engagement app. It's called 3D Public Survey. So if we have a look at that one, again, here is the Webscene in Queenstown, and in grey is the building that is being proposed right there in the middle of Queenstown. And then what you can do, you can ask the users a number of questions, and you can also set up the questions in the relationship in relation to viewpoints. So in this case, I want to get really feedback from this specific viewpoint. You just allow the user to click and give answers. Also, you can do free commenting. And then the user submits the answer. We track, of course, the answers in the background. And then these colored labels that you just saw, which is all of a sudden have disappeared and now come back, they indicate how many answers were given at that particular location, and also the color gives an indication of what sort of answers were given there. So if it's yellow, then there's kind of a yes or no were equally there. If it's green, we know that most people liked it. So you get kind of a sentiment map in 3D by looking straight at the colors of the responses. And then if you want, you can still cycle through all the answers, see what the answers were, or go back to that location. So this app really allows you to do public engagement in a 3D environment. So it's called 3D Public Survey, and as said, it's also part of our free solution offering, so you can download the app, look at the source code, and install it on your own server. And then, of course, in the background, we have Enterprise that's also been fully 3D enabled, allowing you to stream all these data formats that I mentioned earlier. So it's 3D objects, but also the 3D meshes and the LiDAR point clouds. The Webscene that I've been showing you, that is actually the vehicle to share 3D information, right? Because it runs in any browser. We know that people can view it. We've updated a lot of functionality in the Webscene viewer as well in the July release. So I encourage you to have a look at the new release of the Webscene viewer. And especially it now enables you to do 3D smart mapping, similar to the smart mapping that is available in the web maps. And then, so not just desktop, not just in the browser, not in enterprise, but also the developer tools have all been 3D enabled, right? Right across the platform, we have 3D capabilities. So the runtime for iOS and Android and .NET is full 3D capability, and the same for the JavaScript API. So all our Webscene viewer is built in our own, of course, JavaScript API. And we have a number of 3D examples out there that can show you the power of what you can do in 3D using the latest is the 4.4 release of the JavaScript API. So what we have here is New York City. You see all the skyscrapers, and we built a very simple app to highlight that you can now do query and filtering in 3D directly. So I can go here, you can see at the bottom, I can either select the building here, and you see directly at the bottom, you see where the building sits in the graph. And when I click on the building, we now go to the Flickr API and just grab the photos that are available for this location. But I can also say, just show me the buildings for a certain time period. So I can just turn them off, and then I see the buildings that were built just in the last 17 years. It's a very simple functionality, you like, but very powerful that you can now do this kind of filtering and querying in 3D in a web application. And then mobile 3D. I'm particularly excited about this one. We'll see if I got enough battery power again. And it does work. So when I showed 3D, that was on the plenary stage in San Diego about 7 years ago. I had like a laptop-like mobile device with a big fat pipe going to ArcGIS server underneath the desk. Wasn't really mobile. But what we do have now, and we'll see if it works for you guys. It does. So here's my Queenstown Webscene, and it just works seamlessly now on my little mobile device. So it works, as I said, it works for iOS, Android, and .NET, and the performance and the quality is really outstanding. What is happening now at the moment, it's still streaming now, coming from the servers in the US. What we're going to enable in the next, I think it's in the next release, that you can also have offline 3D. So you can just download the scene packages to your phone, and then you can, do not need any internet connection. It's pretty awkward, this actually, holding a camera at the same time. But I really want to show you the quality that you get. So then you can have offline 3D as well, and that's fully supported. And the content that you see, so this is, again, as a web scene with scene layers. So you build it once, and then view it in a desktop, or view it in a browser, or view it on a mobile device. All right, looking a bit at my department where I work, we have a roadmap for new solutions. Again, like I said, available for you to download at no cost. It's all around planning, but also utilities. We don't want to only model the city above the surface, but also go below the surface and model the three waters: stormwater, sewage, and water, and also look at a 3D situational awareness viewer. So I'll show more of that side of things, what you can do with 3D, with your 3D city model once you've modeled it in the next session at 3:30. And then also, if there is anybody out there that would like to get started in 3D and needs some help with getting the solutions up and running, or wants us to give feedback on the workflows, or has other 3D requirements, just send me an email or come see me after the session, because we're happy to help out there. And the story map that I was showing you is also public. So if you want to have a play with that story map, the link's right here. And it's being recorded, so you can have a look at that one. And that leaves me to just questions.
Thank you so much.
That's right.
Does anyone have any questions for this afternoon?
Hi, I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on getting BIM into 3D, ArcGIS Pro or on the web.
Yes, I'll actually show you a slide of the roadmap that we're working towards. But we get that question all the time, and it's the main priority that we're working towards. We'll have a look here. Oh, we're not having a look there. That's the wrong one. But let me find it for you. Oh, it is that one. That one. That's what I wanted to show you. So this is kind of the main highlight topics that we are working on, let's say for the next 12 to 18 months. And you see at the top there is BIM to GIS interoperability. So we are really working on making that easier. There is engineering effort going on to read BIM directly, have a BIM reader and have directly read access into, read the BIM into ArcGIS Pro. And we also have a workspace available for IFC going directly into ArcGIS Pro, and that goes through Safe Software, FME. So definitely a big focus point for us to make that workflow a lot easier. And then as you can see here, we get that question a lot as well. Augmented reality and virtual reality is also actively being researched at Esri. So there'll be more functionality and more, especially at API level, there'll be more functionality available to start creating your own virtual reality and augmented reality apps.
Any other questions?
Okay. Just in terms of fly-throughs and animations, I didn't see too many there. Is that something that is going to be part of ArcGIS Pro?
In ArcGIS Pro, there is a very good animation capability available. Actually, I did hide that slide, but I can show you. Because I thought nobody wanted to know. Where did it go? Did that one? Did that one? There we go. I'll unhide it. But yeah, no, so the boys have really done a great job in improving the animation capability inside of ArcGIS Pro. And you know, so you can do animations now, like the bottom one here, you can do it in 3D. It is playing. So yes, in short, there's a lot of support for building really great animations in 2D and in 3D. So they support now overlays of images and overlays of text and all that sort of thing is really well supported now.
One last question or two.
Hi there, Nick Moore here. Is there any scope down the line to integrate the 3D stuff into the field workflows like collector survey 1, 2, 3, allowing the scene layers essentially working directly in collector, etc.? Yeah,
exactly. That is, again, being looked at the moment. I know for a fact that, for example, Explorer is going to go 3D in hopefully the next year. So you have the Explorer app, the mobile app, will have 3D capability. But as I said, we are waiting for that offline capability to be available before we make that available on the mobile apps.
One last question, or is everyone okay? Thank you so much.